Hello, little witchlings and princelings, and welcome to your weekly Coven Summoning. My name is Ilsa.
And my name is Stacy.
And we're Caffeine and Conjuring,
a fantasy bookish podcast where we will discuss some of our favorite fantasy reads.
So before we get into the episode, make sure if you haven't already, read all of Throne of Glass series up to chapter 39 of Queen of Shadows, so nothing gets spoiled for you. So our last episode, we ended off the aftermath of Rowan revealing that he is a blood oath to Aelin, and Aelin kind of having a tantrum because it wasn't him. But that last chapter kind of starts, there's a little bit of tension, but it blows over. They're starting to pick at each other a little more, and she offers him that he can still take the blood oath, and she's good with changing traditions and having two people sworn to her. Which he agrees, but he's going to wait until she's cleaned, so he's in front of a large audience and have it made to be a bit of a spectacle.
Of course.
And then hopping into chapter 30, we start out in a room deep beneath the stone castle that the demon prince with Dorian frequently visits. The demon occasionally allows Dorian to surface, experiencing through his own eyes. During these moments, the demon prince communicates with Dorian, speaking in a hissing, cold voice, which only Dorian can hear. In this room, there are pedestals with crowns atop them, which the demon prince says are the crowns of conquered nations, and anticipates adding more from other worlds. Huh?
What? What is
this? Dorian, however, is indifferent to these statements, which prompts the demon to mock his spineless human nature and remark that she lost her head. Dorian's internal thoughts reveal that he wishes Aelin had succeeded in trying to kill him.
That's like an ongoing thought for him.
He is very espresso depresso.
Our poor baby. I just want him to get back to normal already. Or however normal as he could be. But anyways, chapter 31. This chapter focuses on a tense confrontation for Manon inside Duke Parrington's tent. Manon forcefully enters the tent, demanding an explanation for why her 13 coven is being denied access to the Yellowlegs coven. Inside, she observes Kaltain, demonstrating an unholy aura of dark fire. Kaltain projects shadow fire onto a kneeling soldier, causing silent, agonizing pain without leaving any physical marks. An ability the Duke later suggests could incinerate the armies of our enemies. The Duke then snaps the soldier's neck, explicitly stating this act was a warning to Manon. Despite Manon's continued demands, the Duke dismisses her, cryptically stating that the Yellowlegs coven was successful, and warns her not to learn what is being bred and forged under those mountains, as any spy sent there won't see daylight again.
So creepy.
Oh my god. So they were successful in
their breeding mission.
Oh, like the stones. Aelin notices that someone is in her room. Thinking it may be Verna, she bypasses her room and goes straight to the Eyrie, and she sleeps underneath Abraxas' wing. That was a really neat scene, because they're both like these broken things, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's just like lets her sleep under his wing.
Manon is always attracted to the broken things.
Yes. Aelin awakens and overhears Manon giving orders for constant surveillance and secrecy regarding a letter sent to the matron. An argument ensues between Manon and Astrid about the coven's treatment and Manon's obedience to the Duke, with Manon firmly asserting her authority yet again. She is like always having to put her foot down. And the chapter ends with Manon proving that she was aware of Elid's hidden presence by telling Elid, if you had any backbone, you would have stayed beside Abraxas until we left, when Elid tried to slip away. Like, why do you keep trying to do anything around Manon and expect to get away with it?
Yeah.
When is she going to learn? Not today.
Sticking with Manon and Aelin, chapter 32, Manon is tasking Aelin with infiltrating the chamber where the Yellow Legs witches are being used to create the demon offspring.
Directly, like, right after Duke Parrington tells her to not do this, she's just like, okay. That means do.
Manon asserts that Aelin is mine now, and warns her against betrayal, stating that if she tells anyone, she'll end up with a handsome Valg husband.
I love that threat.
It doesn't come off the same with her as it does for, like, Rowan when it's like, you are mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not quite the same.
No.
Aelin, despite her fear and shaking hands, accepts the dangerous mission, seeing herself as a spy not only for Manon but also her own freedom, hoping to use the supply wagons to escape. Manon justifies her choice to her second Sorrel and her third Astrid, explaining that Aelin is the only one who can gain access to the heavily guarded chambers and that knowing what is happening inside is worth risking a life. Meanwhile, as Aelin heads to her room, she overhears Vernon speaking intimately and menacingly towards Kaltain, describing her as beautiful and saying they could create wonders that will make the world tremble. When Aelin rounds the corner, she discovers Vernon has cornered Kaltain and is harassing her. A surge of unexpected rage prompts Aelin to intervene, asserting that she was sent by the wing leader to fetch Kaltain. Vernon acknowledges Aelin's defiance and her witch blood, saying, I was wondering when you'd show your fangs, Aelin, or should I say, your iron teeth. Kaltain, seemingly vacant, is cold to the touch and mutely follows Aelin as she leads her away from Vernon. Aelin is horrified by Kaltain's condition, noting bruises that look like fingerprints on her arm. Ugh, again. Ugh. The chapter ends with Aelin returning to Manon's tower, but instead of reporting on the chamber, she asks Manon for poison.
Yes. There's something about Vernon's that just boils my blood.
Right.
Get that freaking poison. Chapter 33, we're back with Aelin, and he's undergoing a rigorous training session with Rowan in the warehouse, using sparring sticks. He's still recovering from injuries, and he's pushing through the pain, grappling with the recent revelation of his half-fae heritage and the identity of his father, Gavriel. He also thinks about how much of a threat that Lorcan is. Rowan sternly warns Aelin against speaking disrespectfully to Aelin, threatening him if he repeats his past behavior towards her. And a pretty big development occurs when Lysandra arrives. She delivers news from Arobin, and she reports that Arobin has learned of 2 prison wagons chock full of the missing people heading south Morath. Lysandra reveals that these wagons specifically target former magic wielders and that Arobin is leveraging his clients' lineages to exploit the situation. Aelin asks how long Lysandra must work to pay off Evangeline's debts, and she admits that Clarice has tripled the amount. When Aelin offers to dig Clarice a grave no one would ever discover, Lysandra just says, not yet, not now.
But someday.
I hope. I'm really hoping that she can, that she calls in that favor from Aelin. Shortly after, Kaol arrives, and Aelin presents him with a map of the city's sewer network, and Aelin confirms Arobin's intelligence about the missing prisoners being taken to Morath. She then issues a strong warning to Kaol, advising him to start avoiding the sewers, calling it a death warrant due to the hidden dangers. Aelin also provides specific details about the prison wagons, noting their warded locks and iron reinforced doors. I did like how Kale had a moment of like he was going to get like a little snappy with her, and then he realized that like she knows what like how to get past like the wagons, or she knows like the ins and outs of the wagons because she was in them. And then he just like thought better of it and was just biting his tongue.
Yeah.
um so the chapter ends with Kale once again crying over the big beautiful Rowan, Nesrin befriending them, Aelin wanting to kill Dorian, and about the precautions Kale would need in place when Aelin frees magic. It's just basically a rinse and repeat of all of Kale's inner monologue for this book.
Yeah.
Over and over, the same issues is what he's crying about.
Yep. It's chapter 34. This chapter is all about Aelin dedicating the day to showing Rowan around Rifthold. She wanted to show him the good parts of the city before dragging him into the underbelly. They visit many places in Rifthold, Curry, down by the water, and a few more places that Selena thought might bring up some fond memories. But the main part is when Aelin brings Rowan to the Royal Theatre and plays the piano for him. Oh. She reveals she hadn't done so since Nehemiah's death, and he's taken aback by her playing and has quite an emotional reaction to it. He wants her to show him how to play. It's just such a sweet moment. I was just like kicking my feet, like, oh. When it's like, when she says that like his eyes are filled with silver, and I was like, oh.
Yep.
So afterwards, she stops into the bank, which prompts him to ask her if she's using her own money to support them. She says yes, for now, but alludes to her having a plan that he will find out soon enough on how they'll get money later. What does she have up her sleeve? Other than daggers.
Touché. Chapter 35, we are back with Kale. I never thought that I would be so about his chapters, and it makes me so sad.
Oh,
so
honey.
Him, I know it's gonna get worse. I know. I just want him to go back in time to like book 1 and book 2. That's all I ask. But yeah, he's with Nesrin now, and they are absolutely covered in Valg blood. They've ambushed and saved a lot of prisoners. They didn't ambush the prisoners; they ambushed the Valg demons, obviously. But I think he says like 24 of them they've taken down themselves. Like they are just, and he even notes that he looks over across at Nesrin and she looks beautiful. That's all I'll say about that. So, yeah, like her fierce beauty, I think maybe. But yeah, they discuss the unusual surge in Valg activity and the king's long-term plans, with Nesrin suggesting Aelin's return might be the cause of the increased aggression. Some rebels propose abandoning Rifthold, but Kale insists on staying to protect the city and its people. Meanwhile, Aelin secretly prepares for her own mission. Donning her weapons and taking her father's sword, she leaves her apartment, ensuring Rowan, who is sleeping, remains undisturbed.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. Mm-hmm. We know nothing's getting past Rowan.
So chapter 36, Aelin senses Lorcan monitoring her apartment in the middle of the night. She sets up a trap for the Valg commander and the wordhounds in the sewers, using the information gathered from Kale and Nesrin. She uses her voice, disguised as Lysandra taught her to lure a commander to a meeting point where Lorcan ambushes them. Later, Lorcan confronts Aelin, pinning her against a wall and threatening her, but Aelin counters his threats with a hidden blade. Rowan intervenes, placing his knife at Lorcan's throat and demanding answers about his presence and Maeve's intentions. Lorcan reveals that Maeve wants the word keys and offered to aid the King of Ardalan if he died. If Lorcan died. Aelin leaves Lorcan with a very serious warning. I will never forget, not for one moment, what you did to him that day in Dornell. Your miserable existence is at the bottom of my priority list, but one day, Lorcan, one day, I'll come to claim that debt too. Consider tonight a warning.
Oh.
So, talking of spoilers last time and how I've been fairly okay with not spoiling much, I forgot how anti-ally Lorcan was at the start of this series. But, like, you knew the phrase Lorcan did anyways, but, like, every time Lorcan got mentioned, I kind of went a little feral and a little bit crazy. Like,
that's okay. But you also are not opposed to villains. So
please retract the comment that I just made. God, just shut your mouth, Ilsa, for the love of fucking God.
Yeah. No, but I assumed because like I don't know, I must have seen stuff, or maybe just knowing that he's so heavily in the story, I assume that he would be eventually an ally. So like I don't know. I don't really think that this whole thing is, I don't know. You know?
No more comments.
Anyways.
So back at the warehouse, Aelin and Rowan bicker about how dangerous it was for her to do that on her own, and he insists she must tell him her plans beforehand, like the alpha male that he is. Has he not figured out that she does not give two fucks what he thinks?
That's true. Very true.
Like, within reason, like, she cares, but not enough to listen to him.
Yeah. She's gonna do her own thing.
Yeah.
She has proved that time and time again from book 1. Or technically book 0.5.
Yeah.
But, you know. But I read this part over like a couple times, like especially when I was going back to do the notes, because I felt like that section was just so weird about Lorcan, Rowan, and Aelin. Like, did they just leave him in the street, or did they like tie him up? How did this happen? How did they get away and back to the warehouse?
I believe it's implied that Lorcan left for now, kind of thing.
Fucked off somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not get that implied. I was very confused. I was like, did they just all go back to the warehouse? Like, where did Lorcan go? What did Lorcan do?
Fuck's sakes.
But okay.
Says, watch yourself, girl, Lorcan said. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a week, but someday you'll trip up and I'll be waiting. Really, you fey males and your dramatic speeches. She turned to walk away, a move she could make only because of the prince standing between them, but she looked back over her shoulder, dropping all pretense of amusement, of boredom, letting that killing calm rise close enough to the surface that she knew there was nothing human, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they turned to walk away. She turned back and made that comment about what he did to Rowan and Dornell, and I'm assuming, and I guess they just walk off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's stopping Lorcan from just attacking again as they're walking off?
Rowan.
Like, that's okay.
They don't have their magic, right? So, and like they've said before, it'd be a pretty even match, and then it'd be 2 against 1.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Just the intimidation of Rowan being there was enough to put a leash on Lorcan.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Fair. Oh, chapter 37. Once again, we are back with Dorian.
Oh.
Very short chapter. He is, surprise, surprise, still under the control of the demon. And he is forced to witness the torture of prisoners in the dungeons, and he recognizes some of them but cannot recall their names. The demon relishes the suffering of the prisoners, growing stronger from their pain, fear, and despair. Dorian is helpless, unable to intervene or remember the names of those he cares about. He is compelled to return to the dungeons repeatedly, forced to participate in the ongoing torment. Over and over and over. Talk about trauma.
Yeah. So chapter 38 is an interesting chapter. We get a little fun little tidbit of information, which I may or may not have lied about in the past. So Lysandra joins Aelin, Aedion, and Rowan for dinner, and Rowan reveals that she is a shapeshifter, a secret she has kept hidden for years.
Ooh.
You and I are nothing but wild beasts wearing human skins. Don't even try to deny it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, is she Fae? I'm like, no.
No. Bold-faced lie. I had my inkling.
So, Lysandra explains how she survived on the streets of Rifthold by using her abilities, and how she doesn't remember what her true face looks like. Which is, as she said, one of the risks that you take using that ability a lot.
She was also, 7 when she was on the streets?
Yeah.
Because she does go into more detail on, how she survived.
Yeah.
And how when magic was gone.
Imagine getting into a fight with your mom and you just turn into a hissing cat.
Oh, there's lots of times I wish I could. Not necessarily with mom, but, just in general.
So, Lysandra also comes with a warning that Arobynn is going to call in his favor tomorrow, meaning the Val commander, and Lysandra believes he intends for them all to deliver it, not just Aelin. When Lysandra leaves, Aelin walks her to her carriage, and they have a little heart-to-heart. The next day, Aelin receives the formal invitation from Arobynn, an invitation for her plus 2 guests, indicating he's aware of both Aedion and Rowan, which makes them suspect it's a trap. And a skin oil that smells like him, which he insists she wears to the meeting.
That is
and
just
the crepe factor
diabolical.
Grows. So the chapter ends. Aelin reveals her intent to hunt a Val commander to Aedion and Rowan. She insists that Aedion stay at the apartment, not wanting to risk his wounds in the sewers. I love how Aedion puts up a little bit of a fight. She's like, you could have came with me, but you just had to try and show up Rowan and got your ass handed to you anyways. So now you get to stay home like a little baby.
Yep. Yep. And baby he is. Just a little tantrum. And then our final chapter. It starts with Aelin and Rowan surveying the dead Wordhound and Val captains that Lorcan left in his wake. Taking note that even though the Wordhounds look to be made of stone, they are still flesh on the inside, and once they die, they stay dead. Rowan notices that this setup wasn't just a trap to send Lorcan a message, and Aelin admits she wanted the king's eyes on Lorcan, saying that the king now has his face and his smell. And now he most likely is being pursued by the rest of the Wordhounds, which means Aelin will have an easier time sneaking into the sewers and the clock tower. What a sneaky smart girl.
Yeah.
They continue on to find a Val captain for Arobynn, and they ambush a smaller patrol with a milder commander and trapped him and then dragged him to the cellar for questioning. During the questioning, Aelin manages to speak to the man trapped inside his own body. But this, it almost took me out of the story because I was listening to this chapter specifically on audio, and it was just like, his name was Steven. And I was just like, Steven. All of the fun, fancy names.
I have to add a spoiler warning for other series by Sarah J. Maas before I say this next part. So skip ahead about a minute and a half if you don't want any spoilers.
Ooh, she's a doozy.
And this is where I kind of like the theories of the Valg could be the things from Crescent City.
The Astari?
The Astari.
Ooh.
Because
yeah.
it's more of like the kind of name that is found in Bryson Hunt's world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a name like that, like where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a more Englishy name as opposed to...
Yeah.
And then like, there was more going into ACOTAR with that as well, and what they could be at the ACOTAR series and all of that. That's a very big hole to climb down. But that is deep in the theories, but when I read this, I was just like, I wonder.
Yep.
And now Sarah's kind of like hinting that she wouldn't mind opening back up the Throne of Glass series again, even though we do have the little bit of crossover anyways. But but yeah, just had to throw that in there to get your mind working a little bit. See what you think.
That would be... yeah. I think I could see it.
And we're about at the minute and a half mark. So, welcome back.
Hi.
We're just talking about Throne of Glass again.
So back to Steven. Like, it just, for a second when I heard that, it just took me right out of the story. I was just like, Sarah? What is this? Next thing we're going to find somebody named, like, I don't know. Kevin. Fucking Kevin.
Chris.
So yeah, anyways. So Aelin manages to speak to the man trapped inside his own body. She asks about the Valg princes and learns about the one in Rifthold that's occupying Dorian. She tries to ask if Dorian is still there, but before he can get the words out, the demon shuts it down. It's revealed that if the ring was taken off, he wouldn't want to come back. He doesn't want to live with what the demon made his hands do. He wishes for death. She makes a deal with him, offering him death, but what will she get in return? So obviously it isn't revealed to us yet as the reader.
Yeah.
She loves doing that to us.
Yeah.
She loves it. So she sneaks out that night and comes home smelling of ash, and Rowan throws a little tantrum, which proceeds to the morning until he sees her passed out in his baggy shirt, surrounded by her weapons, and no smell of Lorcan. He's still pissy with her, but we get that alpha fae satisfaction. I love that. He's just like, oh, she's in my t-shirt.
It's like, that's right.
Aelin, yep. Aelin wakes to the domesticated fae male cooking breakfast, and she tells him that she needs him to go with her today. There's a grave I need to visit. Oh.
This whole scene just...
Yeah. I know.
It's like, it stabs you for the first part, and then when Rowan takes over, it's just like...
Yeah, that's it. Just the end. Just kill me now. Okay. Not having anything black and reflecting on Sam's love for color, she picks out a tunic the color of spring grass with golden velvet cuffs. While walking to the grave, she picks out 3 pebbles that gleam with quartz and color, and she places them atop the headstone. 2 for the years he's been gone, and 1 for the year they were together. She has her heartfelt moment talking to Sam, saying how she loves and misses him and wonders what he'd think of her now. Then, as she's about to leave, Rowan approaches, saying, I know who he was to you, then proceeds to pick out a stone from her stash and placed it beside the ones she just left.
Oh, my heart.
Then the chapter ends with Aelin confirming to Rowan that she's planning on finally killing Arobin. Finally. And I like how, I don't remember which chapter it was. It was a chapter where her and Lysandra had that little heart to heart when they go out to the carriage, when Aelin walks her out to the carriage. After I think it's after she finds out that she's a shapeshifter. They have that sort of like moment where like Aelin reflects on Lysandra, her comparison to Nehemia, like their secrets that they kept. But she feels like Lysandra didn't lie to her about it. Nehemia straight out lied about everything.
Yeah.
But also, in that conversation, I don't remember if Lysandra just straight up says it or if Aelin like asks it, but it's said after that Lysandra like doesn't mind Aelin being the one to kill Arobin because she knows that Aelin won't hesitate.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I cannot wait for this to happen.
7 chapters left till part 2 of the book. When everything explodes.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
I'm so excited. I'm ready for the action. To be able to talk about the action. I just said to Stacey before we started recording, I finished Queen of Shadow again, because when I was doing the reading, I had nothing else to read at the time. I didn't want to start anything else just yet. I didn't know what I wanted to read, so I just kept reading, and then I was done it. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Again. Yeah.
I have no willpower when it comes to stopping the series. None.
I can't believe I've been doing as good as I've been doing. With like only reading what. But I think like like I've said before, I know I've said it in like past episodes, but my willingness to have like authentic first reaction, not being spoiled by future chapters is what's keeping me going.
Yeah. I will say, when I went through and read all the rest of it there a few weeks back, I wish I had skipped Tower of Dawn. It was my least favorite book of the series. That still stands. It is better as the tandem. But I know what happens. I know the information I need. I got no joy out of reading that again.
So why put yourself through it again? That sort of
It's like I should have just
mentality.
left the second reread of it to be for the podcast, like reading as we go kind of thing. And I should have just skipped it.
So now you have to do it a third time?
Third time, yes.
Oh no. Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll like it better the third time. They say the third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. Something tells me no. Maybe.
Oh, you might push me to like it more. You might bring up some things that I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. And maybe only doing so many like per week won't be so bad.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about Kale and what's her face?
Nesrin.
Nesrin
Phallic.
It feels like there's there feels like there's something brewing there again. I know like we already know that they've had past relations. But I feel like there's something else coming for them. So I'm just waiting to see. I just can't wait for all this to happen now with Arobin and for Aelin to destroy the clock tower and like how that's going to happen. Like, oh, I'm so excited. You're just like, I can't say anything.
Literally not a single thing. Just sit and smile. Yeah, everything is gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. Can't wait.
But like, when or if they actually destroy the clock tower, and that is supposed to free magic again, like, shit is gonna hit the fan. Like, that's gonna be...
You're very confident that they're gonna succeed.
Well, that's why I said if or when. When or if. If. Shit could potentially hit the fan if they take down the clock tower. I'm assuming that is supposed to be, like, is going to be a big part of this book, because they haven't stopped talking about freeing magic, and poor Kale is, like, beside himself worrying about what's going to happen when Aelin frees magic. So I'm assuming that is what's going to happen in this book. Like, if that happens, will, like, the Valg get even crazier? Like, do they get beefed up? What happens if, when they're inside somebody who has magic, and the magic gets freed, and then the Valg princes are inside somebody that now has magic? Or will they just get, like, booted out once their magic is back? Reactivated. Freed.
It's a wonderful one-sided conversation you're having. I like hearing where your mind's going with things, though.
My mind is just everywhere. There is, like, no path that it's on. It's just like, it's like a tree. There's just branches everywhere, and I can't keep it straight anymore.
Well, until next week, make sure that you've read up to chapters 49 of Queen of Shadows. And we'll see you soon.
Toodles.
See you soon. Hear you soon. Talk to you soon. Talk at you soon. There we go. We'll talk at you soon.
And with that, our coven summoning comes to a close. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And follow Caffeine and Conjuring on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date on our journey through Throne of Glass.